Community Spotlight, powered by ATB Wealth Kelowna. Ready to take a powerful step towards the future you want today? Connect with local advisors at ATB Wealth Kelowna to get started.
And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ATB Wealth Community Spotlight, where we feature and spotlight local businesses and nonprofits in the community. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I have Rosemary Thompson and Brianna Wells from Opera Kelowna. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
No problem. So we're excited to chat about. So I'm going to start this. I was actually thinking about, I've never been to an opera. So how many times do you hear that? And I was thinking, and it's funny because, as I prepare for these live streams, I start thinking, I try to put myself in, like, if I've been, and I'm like, I don't know, there's a stigma to me, right? Opera's for old people. I'm sure you hear that, right? So what would you say to me? How are you going to get me to come watch?
Well, I saw my first opera when I was 7.
Wow, okay.
And I fell in love right away.
Love
in fact,
it.
I was on a school trip and I sobbed on the bus the whole way home. My friends all thought I was crazy. But there's something about opera that is that elevates everything that's on the stage because of the music. So this combination of singing and orchestra,
right,
and the combination of all the costumes and the sets and the directing and choreography, it's really one of the art forms that when it works, there's nothing like it because there's so much to take in. And we like to say that opera can go anywhere. I think that's a line that Brianna used. I'm stealing your line. and so it can be a big spectacle. It can be a small, intimate thing. But essentially what it is storytelling with this added element of extraordinary music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Brianna, what got you involved in opera? Like, where were you first exposed to?
So I was 8.
Wow. Okay.
So
you waited a whole year.
Yeah. we're lifers, I guess. Yeah, my first opera was La Bohème, which is the same story that the musical and movie Rent are sourced from, so it might be familiar to some folks.
Right.
And I loved going out with my mom. It was something that we did together, even though she was a music teacher, and so we were sitting at the back of the second balcony. We didn't have big money, but we did get to dress up, and it felt like a really special night out. And then there were these moments that just hit you. The story, as Rose has said, kind of moves along and you're caring about these characters, you're angry with the characters. And then there's these moments in opera like nothing else I've ever seen where the music comes together to push the storytelling to somewhere that I don't know any other art form can make happen. And it just washed over me. And I was in my little taffeta dress with my mom and I also just started bawling. Yeah. And so you get to cry, you get to laugh, and it's this sense of really, really big storytelling. And I think for me also the sense of the event, that it's something that you go to together, that really makes a difference, something live. Yeah. It's something that we don't always get a lot of anymore today. And I think that's something that's really special. Yeah.
Interesting. And do you hear, though, like, is there a little bit of that stigma where, it's opera, it's for old people? Like, do you hear that? Or is that like, Rob, you need to move on?
No.
But really, is there a struggle getting younger people involved? Because they don't know what you don't know, right?
And you're not the first person to say that. I promise you.
Sure.
And I think it's also, traditionally it's been a colonial art form. Yeah. And so there's this, because it stretches back several hundred years, I think there can be that stigma, if you would use that word, that people just think it's not for me because I don't know anything about it. Right. And I think what surprises people is that they think they need to come in with all this academic knowledge about what it is to enjoy it. It's like, I can go to a hockey game and I don't really know what's going on. Most of the time I can't see the puck, but I love being there for the energy. The environment. And so I think it just adds to the palette of the richness of a life spent if you experience all these different things.
The hockey game where you're taking someone who's never been to a hockey game.
Right?
They don't know what you don't know. That's interesting.
But actually, when I first met my husband, the deal was that he would come to the opera with me and I would go to the Hamilton Tiger Cat football games with him because he grew up in Hamilton. And we both had a blast, actually.
Did you have to sit outside during the cold watching this?
Oh, yeah. Game? I was at the Grey Cup in Winnipeg.
Oh, really? Good for you.
So I think that just adding that to, as I said, the richness of life, and because in some ways I think opera is one of the most accessible art forms because the singing especially you have to hear it live, because you get the goosebumps and you get the feeling. And so the voices that are presented in opera, they've been training their voices for decades. Yeah. And so the visceral experience of how it washes over you, how it touches you really, really deeply. And it's very special. And I think what I would say to people who've never been, who might be nervous to go, is that you don't have to know anything to go.
Right.
Just experience, it and see how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And if I could, I think also as an organization, Opera Kelowna is very aware that for some folks, you need a really warm invitation to try for the first time. And so we've really worked hard to try to create that in as many different ways as we can.
Yeah.
And that includes different kinds of programming that we do.
Right.
So we have all kinds of different events throughout the year. Our main stage production, La Traviata, this August is, of course, in a theater, full theatrical setting, but we have outdoor performances, we have free events. And one of the things that we also have really committed to is pay what you wish tickets. So for anything that has a paid ticket for it, we offer 10% of those tickets at Pay What You Wish. And that's made available through community support and sponsorship that we couldn't do it without. So we kind of are just saying, like, there's no reason not to give it a try. And when you come, you'll feel like you belong. So we've really focused on wanting everyone in the community who wants to give it a go, a chance to come try.
Right.
Yeah.
Except tonight.
Well, that's true.
So there's an event tonight.
Yes.
But it's sold out, which is awesome to hear. So it's sad to hear because we can't go, but it's awesome to hear. Can you tell us a little bit about the event tonight, though? Can you talk a little bit about, and we'll talk about the season and the other things that are coming up too.
So thank you. Tonight is Opera Under the Stars. It's our 10th iteration of this event, and it's free to the community. It's a concert in the courtyard at UBC Okanagan's campus. It's co-presented with support from Pusher Mitchell and from UBC Okanagan. And we had, I think, 1,200 tickets for free, and they were all snapped up in 4 hours when we put them available. So cool. I think people have really learned that this is an event that's going to be a special night. It's a really festive atmosphere. Rosemary hosts. We have artists coming from BC and Alberta and a couple of locals as well.
So
and we have a surprise performance too from. Do you want to give it away?
Well,
or do you
I'll just give part of it away.
Okay.
So last year we started a partnership with the Kelowna Community Music School, all as part of our being part of the wider community, and so we feature one of their students. So we have a 16-year-old student tonight who's going to just knock everybody's socks off.
Very neat. So is this event, does it move every year, or is it always at UBC, or does it kind of move around?
Opera Under the Stars has always been at the same place. So people get very committed to which part of the courtyard they want to sit in. So
that's hilarious.
It's sort of festival event. Seating. So you bring your blanket, bring your lawn chair. So it has this sort of relaxed atmosphere of a folk festival.
Right.
But the repertoire you're hearing is opera.
And do you see in an event like that? I know this was an unpaid event, but like, do you see all types of demographics in the crowd?
Yeah.
Like at 1,200, like that's a lot of people. Like,
Well, and the replication of our experience, we see families there. And so we see kids who are 6, 7, 8 years old. And it's many of them, it's their first taste of opera. So it's really exciting.
That's very
get starting their journey.
So is that the first event for the season?
It's the first event of sort of our summer season. Yeah, we do programming throughout the year, but we kind of have a really concentrated period from June until September that we do really the bulk of our public programming in.
Got it. Okay. And then you already mentioned sort of our big production, August, I think 22nd and 23rd at the Kelowna Community Theatre. Tell us about that. What are you going to expect? What's going to be on the stage?
So the opera this year is La Traviata, and it's by Giuseppe Verdi, who is one of the most well-known, prolific opera composers ever. He was a national hero in Italy, and so it's a tragedy, but there's all these wonderful parties. Two of the scenes are big party moments. We have extraordinary singers coming, and a lot of local singers as well that are participating. And the orchestra is all local members of the community professional orchestra that will join us. So it's a full set and costumes, and there's choreography, and our director is Brian Diedrich is wonderful. He's directed all over North America and Europe, and so we're super excited to have him with us. What am I missing?
Tell them about the story.
Oh, the story. So it centers around one woman, Violetta. And Violetta's a courtesan, and so she makes her living hosting big parties and hosting gentlemen and to come to those parties. And but at the first party, Alfredo, who's a young nobleman, has completely fallen in love with her. He's totally smitten, and so he convinces her that she should take a chance on him and on love and on giving up her other life. And so she does that. But then his father comes to visit her and says, because she has a certain reputation, she's damaging their family name. And this is going to actually impact Alfredo's younger sister. And so he asks her to end it. And she knows that Alfredo loves her so much, and she loves him so much that he will never believe her, and and doesn't want him to know about his dad's request. So she just leaves him. And then he goes into a rage. But of course, all the way through the opera, you'll hear her coughing.
Interesting.
And she actually has tuberculosis through the whole thing. So there's a little bit of Moulin Rouge was taken a little bit from the story. And actually the story is based on a French novel. So it's had many different iterations to get to where Verdi used it for his opera.
Yes.
You know exactly what opera is about. Yeah. So the party scenes, there's chorus and they're really fun and uplifting, and the music is very exciting and super fun. There's a whole ode to toast to wine and the joy that it brings us. And then there's this more intimate moments of real suffering and questioning and a story that could be told today. Right. And that's the greatest operas are timeless. Yeah. And they really play on the human emotion, and as we said earlier, the music elevates that to a place where it's cathartic. Yeah. And it sticks with you. It's really, really meaningful way of experiencing art.
How big of a production is it? Like how many people will be on stage throughout the performance?
I was trying to count. I think it's in the orchestra and on stage, it's about 60 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
production.
And it's really, I think one of the things we really are excited about is it's a mix of Okanagan and Kelowna-based musicians and musicians from across the country. So we're bringing, the opera community from across Canada to the Okanagan, and also giving Okanagan artists an opportunity to play with each other, to make music together, and also to kind of collaborate with people that they maybe haven't had the opportunity to perform with before. And I will say we're also very excited that this production is set in the 1920s in Paris. So there's a little bit of a flapper vibe going on. So visually, really I think it's just really going to be a stunning event. Yeah.
So how long does it take you to put a production like this together? Like you're planning. Like, so when how long ago did you say we're going to do this production? Like, is it a year ago? Like, how far before?
I think 2 years that we sort of set what we're going to do. Okay. And then the first step then is hiring the director, because it's their creative vision for the storytelling piece of it. Okay. So then we work, not every week on 2 years out, but I'd say a year out. So sort of as soon as we finish this year's main stage opera, starting in September, we'll take a little bit of a breath, and then we start working on the next year. So there's some things that you want to happen at least a year out, basically hiring people to make sure that they're available. And then I just came from a production meeting right before I came here for this interview. We were talking about specifics of props and costumes and set and all that kind of thing. So it ramps up and gets closer and closer to. And then when we have everybody arrives at the beginning of August, and we work very intensely for 2 weeks with everyone in the room. And then we move into the theater and then add all the other elements.
So it's about 2 weeks of on stage.
I'd say three weeks. 2 weeks of away from the stage rehearsing. Yeah. And then a week in the theater where we're doing all the lighting and adding. It's really fun because you add one stage at a time. And you add the orchestra, and then we add the set, and then we add the costumes and then the makeup and the hair and all those things. So they're all planned out way in advance, but then they all sort of iteratively come together.
And I think speaking of planning, one of the things I've always found so fascinating and impressive about opera singers is that they show up for rehearsal with every note memorized. So the people who are playing our lead roles, there's not 6 weeks of getting it together. You show up ready to figure out how to move through the staging with the director, but you already know every single note, every single word, and that's just, if you think about the planning it would take to do that.
So they're individually preparing.
Right.
As they go, like the orchestra has their music, they're practicing. The singers will have had their music for at least a year. Okay. And then that leads me to another thing that's really exciting about opera is that, so they're learning their part on their own, and then when we come together, then they're putting it together with the other singers. So in opera, one of the most special elements of it is ensembles that the composer has written. So you have duets and trios and quartets, and then you add the whole chorus in, and everybody's singing at the same time. But they might be singing about different things. So you have these multiple perspectives happening all at the same time, and the layers of music that add to the depth of excitement. And it's the only art form that you can do that. Like if you were in a straight theater piece, you can't have everybody speaking at the same time.
You're like, what's happening?
Singing at the same time is one of the most rewarding elements. And we do sing in the original language that the opera was written in, because that's what fits the music best. So this opera is in Italian, but we have what we call surtitles. So if you think like a foreign film where you've got the I don't really call it translation. Yeah, the translations. So we have slides at the side. So it really helps people to understand what's happening in the story. So if there's anyone that's like, oh, I don't think I can go to an opera because I don't speak Italian. It's okay. You'll still get everything that you need to.
Well, my parents are from Italy. So
there you go. Good,
I still can't speak Italian. So what are your guys' roles when deciding? Like, I'm curious how I'm always fascinated. How do you decide that you're going to bring this production? Like, how did that come together? Like,
well, maybe I'll just, for folks that don't know our organization well, Rosemary and I share leadership of the organization. So I'm the managing director, so I really take care of the business side of things and the administration. And Rosemary is our artistic director, so she's in charge of artistic vision. And this can be a very tricky relationship to have.
I imagine.
I like to lovingly refer to it as sort of a mutually assured destruction, because Rose doesn't sign contracts, but I can't make artistic decisions. So if we don't come to a compromise, we're not doing anything. And we've been working together since just before
5 years.
2020 of March.
The day before the province shut down.
You're okay?
It's been really it's a wild ride, but I think we learned really early on how to communicate really clearly with each other and with care. And I think that's one of the things I really love about the arts in general is you have to collaborate to bring things to fruition. And we like, just from the top down, all around, everything that we do as an opera company is based on relationships and collaboration. Otherwise, nothing would happen.
Fair enough. Interesting. So how does that decision making happen? Like you said, when you had to book this tour, book it 2 years in advance. Like, how does that process work? Or how do you decide what you're bringing?
So Brianna and I meet once a year. We have a little retreat for ourselves, and it really is to talk about artistic programs. So I'm thinking about it all the time. And I go see a lot of other shows, and we have our dream. Then you have to consider budget as well.
For sure.
If you're coming out of COVID, you probably don't want to do a show that has 40 cast members because it's going to be much more expensive. So we have a lot of different parameters that we're thinking about. What's exciting for me, especially for this production, is that it's the first opera that the company is doing by Verdi, which sort of, it gives you a little bit of a mark of maturity, you know, and I feel like we're coming into our own in that regard for the company. So we're very excited about that. But in addition to the main stage, we also do all the other programming that Brianna was talking about. So we've got sort of philosophical statements about each program, what we're trying to deliver for the community, and then we really think about what programming we want to do, or we might have a specific singer we want to showcase, and then find something that really shows. So there's lots of different elements that come into the decision making.
Interesting. And then we wrap up the season with this part of the season with Sparkling Serenade. Tell us about that. It sounds amazing.
We're confident that it will be. This is the second year that we're doing this partnered event. Argus Hospitality and the El Dorado Resort have been long-standing supporters for Opera Kelowna, so we're really excited to move into kind of a programmatic partnership as well. And so this event will take place on the patio of the Manteo. So guests will be,
it's already a beautiful.
They already win by coming.
We don't need a set.
And so the event is intended to kind of sparkle in three ways. You have the sun setting over the water of Lake Okanagan. What more could you ask for? You have the sparkling music delighting your ears from, we're going to have a trio of
singers and a string quartet, and then I'll be playing some keyboards. So it's like it's a very intimate way of sharing some music.
And then the third sparkling is the delicious treats that the crew at the Manteo's restaurant Maestros will be putting together. So folks can decide what it is that they want to have for dinner. And then there's also an opportunity, if they want to stay after, meet the artists and take part in a dessert buffet.
Oh my God.
So again, we're really just trying to think about, opera is this sensorial experience. And so for us, this was this next level of kind of including the food and also the landscape, the beautiful space we live in. Opera Kelowna really focuses on crafting opera for and with the Okanagan. So we're not bringing tourists through, we're building things here with the partners and community members we have.
Love it. That's very cool. So I'm curious around, how do you, like if I'm a 7-year-old, 10-year-old, and I want to get involved. Like I know there's an education component to what you guys do as well. So we can speak about how do you attract talent and how do you get young people involved? Like what's your role in that?
Well, right now for really young people, we have some educational opportunities that we're developing that will be coming forward. We're trying to build sustainably. So we have some ideas of things that we can do, but we do have an education program called the Valley Opera Summer Intensive, and that's more of a sort of education at the end of your education before stepping into a professional career. And that's a really exciting program. We bring some of the top artists and coaches from across the country on our faculty. And what's unique about this program is that the emerging artists that come, so we've got 10 singers and 2 pianists coming from across the country, they integrate in with the main stage production. So in addition to doing their own classes and lessons and performances, they're also going to be part of the main stage. So it gives them the opportunity to learn what it's like to be part of a professional production. Very cool. So we're very proud. It's our 3rd iteration of we call it VOSI for Valley Opera Summer Intensive. And so that's the big education piece we're doing right now. But we're excited to launch some new initiatives as the years unfold for some younger opera goers.
And I will say also that one of this is a sneak peek because it's not public yet.
So breaking some news here. I love it.
We really always try to listen to our community, and one of our really committed supporters came to us and said, "I want to host a club." For people who don't have a standing person that they necessarily go to the opera with. So we've landed on Overture Club. And I won't name her yet because she hasn't said but she's going to be the host. And so the kind of tagline is going solo together. Because there's nothing wrong with going to a show by yourself, but maybe you want to hook up with someone to have a cocktail at intermission. And so we're really just trying to make as many invitations as possible. There's all kinds of different ways to experience any kind of the productions we're doing, and this is one that's going to layer over all of our productions. And it's free to sign up, and then it's just really a network of folks saying, "Hey, I was thinking of this. Do you want to go together? Or do you want to meet me at intermission?"
And some people aren't comfortable to come on their own. They really want to go, but they don't think they have someone to go with. So we're just trying to facilitate.
Nice to make the connections too, right? So the event, the Sparkling Serenade, is September 5th. Then what happens? Other than
we get 1 week off.
You're going to go for some wine. But what happens after that?
Sure.
With the next programming?
It's a great question. So we unlike a lot of performing arts organizations that you might expect this season to kind of run from maybe October, November through to spring, we sort of run from February to September. And one of the reasons we started off doing that was there's one big theater in this town, and we want to be good neighbors with all the other arts organizations. So it's a scheduling piece, but it's also an opportunity to connect with the community that's here in summer. And so we have a little of our sort of summer planning down period happens in the fall while some other folks are revving up. So we do our annual retreat, our board gets together, we have strategic planning, we make our plans, we apply for a lot of grants. And we also and we circle back with the performers and community members that have come and check in with them about how they felt about what happened and is there something to take forward to next year to adjust or change.
Very cool. You mentioned that you're playing, I think you said piano at the, so are you guys ever been on stage? Like, have you been in the opera? Have you actually been in performances?
I actually conduct the opera. So I'm in what we call the orchestra pit, which usually when I come in, I say to the musicians, "Welcome to the pit." So at the Kelowna Community Theatre, we take off the front of the stage floor, and then we create a little orchestra pit. So I'm conducting, but in some of our smaller productions, I'll often play, and sometimes play with a small group of musicians. So I sort of conduct from the piano. So that's my role, and different artistic directors, depending on their skill set and their background, will have different roles to play. Some artistic directors are actually stage directors. I am not, so we always bring in a guest stage director for that. But so I'm very involved in the musical, both preparation and the performance.
How about you, Brianna? Have you been on stage?
I was in one opera once when I was very young in a big children's chorus. I was a bird. I don't have aspirations to be on the stage. I think this is one of the reasons why I so enjoy working with Rosemary, and I think why we make a great team. I we're running events in the front of house and behind the house as well as the performance, which is part of creating that kind of holistic experience. And so I have a great team of volunteers and staff where we're talking about, are we going to serve gelato on the lawn before the performance? And what does after the show look like?
So Brianna's running around doing all of that while I'm backstage. However, I will say, last year at our main stage production, we had several people go down with illness at the very last minute, and Brianna just jumped in and became an assistant stage manager.
I didn't know what I was doing, and the stage manager kept saying, "Brianna, your mic's on. Brianna, your mic's on." I didn't know how to turn it on, but we got through. Yes,
as long as the show gets on, whatever it takes.
People never see what happens behind the stage.
Exactly, so probably a good
thing. So I'm curious if I'd love to wrap up with a person like myself, maybe haven't been before. What would you say to someone? Like what are they going to? We've talked a little bit about it. What's the experience? Maybe what are we missing out on? Like how would you say someone that's maybe sitting now listening, going, maybe we should go? Like what would you say to them?
I mean, for me, so much of it is about the music, and not just the music itself, but the way the music is performed. And opera singers are a unique. They're unique artists.
Fair enough.
The act of singing opera is an athletic endeavor. They're not mic'd. I mean, on tonight's, because we're outside, we're mic'd because it'd be totally different. But when you're in a concert hall, they're not. They're just their voice, and the voice itself is so powerful and so beautiful. And so part of that is the this atmosphere of wonder of how they even do that, and that kind of excitement. So if you haven't experienced a live opera singer, it will just make you feel a way that you've never experienced ever before. And when you layer that in with what they're singing about and the relationships that they're singing about, I mean, I don't know anyone that doesn't go to movies, enjoy movies,
for sure.
But when it's live, it's still that storytelling. So the idea of the musical storytelling just amps the storytelling up, and it really touches us in our humanity. In a way that no other art form that I've experienced really arrives there. So I would just, as Brianna said, a warm invitation to check it out and see. And I'm always in the lobby after, and so is Brianna, and we love to hear your feedback. So if you come for the first time or at any time, please come and let us know what you thought. Because I've been involved in this art form for so long that I always have to kind of remind myself, what's it like for someone coming for the first time? So I'd love to hear about their experience. What would you add to that?
Well, I just thought of our Page to Stage event.
Right.
So one other thing we're doing this year, this is a specific thing, but I think for some folks, the sense of not knowing what to expect can feel like a reason to not want to give it a try. And so one of the other things we're doing this year is we've partnered up with the Centre Culturel de Francophone de Okanagan, the French Cultural Center, and we're doing a bilingual event we're calling From Page to Stage that talks about the French play, that talks, or it was a novel, then a play. Rose is going to talk about the music. We have a professor from UBC going to talk about 19th century Paris. I'm going to talk about pop culture, which is one of my favorite things. And the star of our show is going to sing a little bit of the music. So it's a free event and a chance to kind of get a sense of what is exciting to other folks about the show.
And when is that?
That's going to be on July 30th at the French Cultural Center on Bernard and Richter. So registration's free, and you can find all these links on our website.
That was my last question. So people are wondering, is that the best place to go? Go to the website. That's where everything is. Follow us on social.
Absolutely. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. www.operakelowna.com. We'll have all of the information that we have posted. And honestly, I'll also say we have a really passionate group of folks that work with us. We want to hear from you. So if people want to talk to us, she's super friendly. Let us know, and we can find an opportunity to connect. We always want to, again, just make the most broad invitation possible.
Love it. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
I really enjoyed the discussion and a little bit of insight. Hopefully, that I hope in these things is just maybe there's someone listening like me that's like, maybe we should go.
Come and check it out.
Just check it out, right? Because I was the same growing up. I like theater. So I used to go to theater, but the first time I'm going to theater, I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. Now I like theater. So you just got to go. You just got to, and I think we need to support groups like like Opera Kelowna and all the other arts,
Absolutely.
because we're not going to have them if we don't support them. So we need to
100%.
go out and support this stuff.
And if you think about opera was the historical leader into musical theater.
Yeah.
So anyone that might be a musical theater fan,
Right.
it's not that different.
Not that different.
It's just that we sing all the
But
time.
better.
Yeah. Well,
We would never say that.
musical theater too. Different. Just
Love it.
different.
Well,
But
thank
yeah.
you so much. Really
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
chatting. And yeah, we encourage anyone that's listening or watching that if you want to learn more, go to operakelowna.com. All the details are there. All the events are there. Site's updated, and you can buy your tickets there. And hopefully we'll see you on August 22nd and 23rd, Kelowna Community Theatre, or the Sparkling Serenade September 5th. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Community Spotlight, powered by ATB Wealth Kelowna. Ready to take a powerful step towards the future you want today? Connect with local advisors at ATB Wealth Kelowna to get started.